Okay, we are recording. Very good. Real quick, so make sure you're paying close attention to the lesson today, because I got prizes. These are Star Wars Micro Galaxy Squadron mystery vehicle and figure. I got 2 of them. So at the end of the lesson, I'm going to ask you guys a question. And you got to raise your hand, and I'll call on you. And if you answer the question correctly, you get one of these. Yes. Okay? All right. So I'm going to put them right here to remind you. I got Star Wars for a reason. All right, you guys ready?
Yes.
Yes, sir. What?
What's the question you will be asking us?
What you have to?
So we know what to look for.
How'd you so
I was once a Jedi Knight, so it was my father. For over 1,000 generations, Jedi Knights have been guardians of peace, justice, and the old republic. Before the dark times.
I've encountered Vertex. You believe it's this boy? You must see. How do this boy's future is? I don't trust him.
And then each day since it came out together.
Days gone by when I thought of you.
I found a way to save you.
Save me.
Darth Vader helped the Empire hunt down and destroy the Jedi Knights. Vader was seduced by the dark side of the Force. He was too dangerous to be killed alive. He was great for you to follow. I, Jedi.
I promise. I won't fail again. I know there is good in you. I believe you will bring balance to the Force.
No, clearly I did not put that video together. I can't even edit our YouTube videos here. All right, so we are talking about, obviously, Darth Vader. He is not, don't confuse Austin. He's like, what? Obviously not a superhero, but I thought he was a good character to do kind of a little psychology on. So as I've done before, I'll give you a little history on the character, that sort of thing. And to allude to Hunter's question a little bit there, you're gonna want to pay attention to, especially the history of Darth Vader, okay? When it comes to the surprises, Austin, you're on the edge of your seat, man. So, psychology of Darth Vader. George Lucas wrote and directed Star Wars, the original, in the late 70s and then into the early 80s with the first three. When George Lucas produced this space western, or the space opera is what it was called, the studios, like Stanley and Spider-Man, they rejected it. They're like, that sounds dumb. And so they totally rejected it over and over. George Lucas's first successful movie hit in 1973. It was called American Graffiti. Didn't even have to do with Star Wars, but he had that movie under his belt. And then finally, 20th Century Fox, the production company, they took a chance on George Lucas and offered him $500,000 to produce Star Wars. Now, it actually cost $11 million to produce the first Star Wars, but like his cut basically was $500,000 to do that. George said, no, I reject your offer. I reject it. He actually said, give me $300,000 less than that. And the numbers are a little debated what it actually was, but about $150,000 to $200,000 is actually what he agreed on. But he said, give me less money, but I want to have the rights to the Star Wars franchise. I want to retain the rights. So the studio would not own Star Wars, but George Lucas himself would. He also wanted to retain the rights to any merchandising, like toys and stuff like that. You gotta remember, like in the 70s though, they didn't really do toy stuff. Toy lines and stuff really got big, like with He-Man and like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the 80s. But like before that, it didn't really exist. And so they're kind of like, okay, this guy wants hundreds of thousands of dollars less, and he wants the rights to the movies, the rights to the characters, and like this merchandising deal that they didn't really think it was a big thing. So guess what they said? Yeah. Sounds good to us. Sounds good to us. That's what they did. Like I said, the first Star Wars movie cost $11 million to produce. It earned $265 million in 1977 during its 1977 debut release, and they would actually go on along with some re-releases and stuff. The first Star Wars, just the very first Star Wars, brought in $775 million on an $11 million production cost. Isn't that crazy? I mean, that is tons and tons of money. So the success of Star Wars and then its sequels and all the merchandising, you can imagine that it made George Lucas just a millionaire. I mean, just a millionaire. He just totally made bank on Star Wars. He believed in himself. He believed in these characters that seem kind of weird. Like right now, like Star Wars is kind of like ingrained in our culture, right? Like everyone, if you've never even seen the movies, you've heard of Star Wars. You kind of know what it is. You kind of have an idea, some of the characters, that sort of thing. But you gotta remember in the 70s, it didn't exist. The closest thing really we had in the 70s to Star Wars, does anyone know? It was a kind of a serial, what is it?
Star Trek.
Star Trek came out in the 60s, so we did have Star Trek, but there was something a little closer to, and George Lucas actually wanted to redo it. It's called Flash Gordon. Has anyone heard of that before? Yeah, not the Flash, but Flash Gordon. It's so he wanted to do Flash Gordon before he did Star Wars, but he couldn't get the rights to it, so then he did his own thing. He did the Star Wars thing. He went on to write and direct the prequels. He then sold his rights, sold his ownership to what company? Does anyone know?
Sony.
What? No? It's like the biggest entertainment industry. Disney. He sold his rights in 2012 to Disney, and that's how we get like The Mandalorian. The three newest Star Wars movies, that's Disney properties. So George Lucas, that's why you always see, if you watch Star Wars, it says Lucas Studios or something like that. But now it says Disney because, what does it say? Lucasfilms, yeah. Now it says Disney because George Lucas sold it to Disney. Does anyone, that's the next question, does anyone have a guess?
$2 billion.
More.
$6.3 billion.
Less.
$3 billion.
Less.
$2.3 billion.
A little less than 5.
$4 billion.
$4 billion.
She said 4.3.
Oh, did you? Sorry. Well, good job. So you got to remember, George Lucas, independently, now he had his own production company and stuff, but he himself, he owned Star Wars. So like when he sold Star Wars to Disney, they weren't writing a check like to a production company. They wrote a check to George Lucas, here's your check. Now I think half of it was in cash, was like a check, and half was in Disney stock, I think, something like that. But still, $4 billion. Do you know how many millions goes into 1 billion?
100,000.
It takes 1,000 millions, 1,000 millions to make 1 billion. I don't understand what that means. Like I can see the numbers on paper, but like what does that mean actually? Like as far as I don't get it, right? That's absurd. 1 billion is absurd. $4 billion.
Has anyone ever seen $1 trillion before?
Didn't we just have our first trillionaire? I think he's like he's a billionaire. He's not American.
He's Russian, isn't he?
He's a prince. He's a prince somewhere, like a Saudi Arabian prince or something.
I knew it
think.
was Russian.
Not Russian.
That's not Russian.
No.
He was watching on the news.
German?
Hold on.
Saudi Arabia.
Hey, hold on. They're about like a trillionaire? Yeah, I think that we just had our first trillionaire a few years ago or something like that. Anyway, so to put that in perspective, check this out. So to put that in perspective, there's almost 8 billion people in the world, right? 8 billion people. 2,700 billionaires in the whole world. 2,700 compared to 8 billion. And George Lucas is obviously one of those billionaires. There's 336 million people in the US. 336 million, right? And only 735 Americans are billionaires. And George Lucas is one of them. So it kind of gives you an idea of like how rare that really is to be having that much money, which is pretty crazy. And it's all because, I mean, George Lucas, I've watched interviews with him and things, he just really believed in his ideas. And he actually wasn't even looking to make the movies to make money. I mean, he obviously wanted to make money, right? But what he did was he just wanted to produce things that he liked. He just wanted to do things that he believed in and he liked. And so that's why he went to 20th Century Fox and said, no, don't give me 500 million or 500,000. Give me like 150, but I want to keep my product. I want to keep my rights. I know, right? I know.
Is he still alive?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's still alive. Yeah.
Like 80?
No, not that old. I can't remember. I don't remember. I had to look it up.
That boy got it.
All right, so Darth Vader's history. George Lucas originally wrote Darth Vader as an assassin for the Emperor. He wasn't like Luke's father or anything originally. He was simply a Jedi who would secretly kill other Jedis with the Force. And so the idea was he would just like be in a room and all of a sudden a Jedi would like drop dead and they didn't know what was happening until he was dead. That was like the idea, the original idea for Darth Vader. But he wanted to give him more depth, he wanted to give him more character development and that sort of thing. So he revised the drafts, he revised this idea of Darth Vader, and he changed him finally from just an assassin for the Emperor to Anakin Skywalker, who would be Luke Skywalker's father. That had never been done before. And you gotta understand, like when the movie came out, even, what's the guy that played Luke? Oh, why am I missing his name? Who played Luke? What's his name?
Luke.
Mark Hamill, thank you. So Mark Hamill, he didn't even know, hold on guys, he didn't even know that this line was in there. So he's going through the script, and so when he originally did the script, and Darth Vader said, "No, Luke, I am your father," he's like, what? You know, it was like a big surprise. No one had ever really done that before, because bad guys in stories were like bad. They were away. They could not be related to the protagonist, which is just kind of interesting. So it was a brand new idea. Yes, sir?
Why did he kill all the Padawans?
What? I guess you have to watch the movies. Watch the movies. Here's a fun little tidbit for you. Luke was not originally a Skywalker. The original name, it wasn't Skywalker, it was Star Killer. Isn't that interesting? So it was Anakin and Luke Star Killer, not Skywalker. Then he changed it to Skywalker, which was kind of interesting. Does everybody know that? Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No, I did not. I'm not gonna lie.
All right. Let me give you some of Darth Vader's story, and this is where we're gonna kind of bounce off, and this is where we're gonna get some of the lessons. This is where it's gonna get grease. Hey, I'm trying to come up with a new word. Do you guys like the word thrill? Do you guys like that's thrill? I'm trying to. That is not already something.
That's booming.
Is thrill really a word that's being used already? Like that's thrill?
No, they don't use it.
I'm trying to get it going, so you guys help me, okay?
That's thrill.
Like that's thrill. I like it. My daughter says, "Dad, stop. Just stop trying." But I like it. Hey, when she's here, maybe next week or whatever, if you guys are gonna say that's thrill, like it'd be so funny. It'd be so funny.
We'll start saying that if you make an intro.
If you make an intro,
Start calling yourself Art Dizzy.
We'll see. All right, let me give you some of Darth Vader's story, and then we're gonna bounce off of that. So here's kind of what happened with Darth Vader, and when he was Anakin and kind of became, he fell over to the dark side, so to speak. So you got to remember early on, and in the prequels, his story was like really expanded, right? Anakin, who would become Darth Vader, one of the first things that happened to him is he was separated from his mother. He was separated from his mother. They were basically like slaves or servants, and then he was taken away. And so even though he was taken away to like a better future, he still had that separation from his mom. And from an early childhood, he would have dreams and visions of his mom like being in trouble and like dying and stuff. So it really kind of plagued him in his dreams.
Wasn't he in like a car race?
Yeah, it was that time when he was that young. Yeah. As a teen, he went to try to find his mom because these dreams and visions were like really plaguing him. So he's like, I gotta go try to find my mom. He wasn't supposed to go there. That was on the planet Tatooine, I think it was. So he goes to Tatooine in hopes of saving her, but he's like just too late. Like he finds her, and she had been hurt, and she had been taken by the Tuscans, this other like alien race, and it's like just too late, and she like dies in his arms. So what he does, and this is kind of really one of the evidences of him having the propensity for evil, what he does is he just annihilates the whole village of the Tuscans. And here's the really bad part about that. It wasn't just like the men. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but it was the women and it was the kids too. He just wiped them all out. Yeah, he just wiped them all out. He took that fear and he turned it into rage. So he had this fear of losing his mom, his fear of losing. He tries to save her, he can't. So his fear then turns into rage and wrath, and he just wipes out that whole village.
Do you think that was a good reason?
Then he goes and he goes against the Jedi code. That's another thing, because he had become a Jedi, he was becoming a Jedi. He marries in secret. Jedi, part of their code, they could not marry, so he does that in secret. He goes against the Jedi code again when he executes a guy named Count Dooku. I don't know if you guys have watched the movie or not, but there's a bad guy, and like he's supposed to take him into custody, but instead he was encouraged by would be the Emperor, he was the Emperor at the time, to kill him, just kill him, and that's he executes him just like right there. So that would go against the code too. Padme? Yep.
Hey, who's that senator guy, Palpatine?
That's who's going to become the Emperor, yeah. So then what happens, what's interesting, so his mom dies, he gets married, and then he still starts having visions and dreams, but it's not of his mom anymore, it's of his new wife. And he sees these visions and dreams of her then dying. And of course, that makes him have these flashbacks to his mom, and he couldn't what? He couldn't what his mom?
Fine.
He couldn't save her.
Oh.
And so now he's having these same visions and stuff of his wife, so now he's afraid he what? Can't save her either. So he's like he's getting this fear built up in him. He's like, oh no, the same thing's gonna happen to my wife, basically.
Did she die when she gave birth?
You're skipping ahead of me. He, though, believes, and this is through be the Emperor, that you can have power over death by going through the dark side. So he doesn't really want to do this at first, but he's so afraid of losing his wife like he lost his mom that he's like, I gotta do something. And so he starts to follow after, it'd be the Emperor, the bad guy. He then, similar to Count Dooku, he then kills Mace Windu, who is a Jedi. So now he first kills a bad guy, now he kills a Jedi because he feels that he's going to get in the way of him learning the dark side, because Mace Windu is about ready to kill who that was discovered to be the Emperor, okay? So he kills Mace Windu, and that right there was kind of like the linchpin in him moving from the Jedi Order basically to the dark side. And that is actually when he was given the name Darth Vader by Palpatine, who would become the Emperor. So it's through that murder of Mace Windu that he fully became part of the dark side. And you can just really see him really fall down a dark path big time now. What he does is he then helps the Emperor fulfill what was called Order 66. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that at all. That is, Order 66 was to annihilate all the Jedi. And here's where it's just like the Tuscans. What he does, as Anakin still, he's called Darth Vader, but he doesn't have the suit on yet. What he does is he goes to the Jedi Temple, and they're killing the Jedi, and then he goes into a room where there's kids. There's little Jedis in training, and he kills all of them. I mean, it's just like, God, it's just, so it's like the Tuscans kind of all over again. I mean, it's pretty dark, really. The Emperor, he is like edging this on the whole time. He is like pushing him and is trying to get him to do these things. He then has this final battle with Obi-Wan, who would be kind of like a father figure, sort of. He has this battle with Obi-Wan, and in that, Obi-Wan takes off, is it both legs and one arm, or one leg? I think both legs and one arm, something like that. And he does that, he loses those limbs, he gets burned badly. That's why he has to wear the suit. I don't know if you guys know that or not. His suit is like a life preserver, I guess, or whatever.
That's how he breathes too.
Yeah, it's a walking life support. That's why he has the breathing thing and all that. So what he does is he has to wear that suit now, and while he's getting this suit on, basically, he kind of comes out of not a coma, but he comes out of being, really in shock. And the first thing he asks the Emperor guy now is, "Where's my wife? Where's my wife?" And the Emperor uses that as opportunity and lies to him and says, "In your anger, you killed her. In your anger, and using the Force, you killed her." And you can watch the movie, you can see this. But what's ironic about that is the whole path and pattern that put Anakin on this path was to what his wife? To save his wife. He was trying to save her, and now the Emperor uses her death and shows him and lies to him and says, "You now are the agent of her death." So everything you feared from a child, from when you had these fears of your mom dying, you couldn't save her. Not only could you not save your wife, but you're the cause of her death. It's that,
That's different.
that would mess your head up. I mean, that would just really mess you up. Anakin becomes Darth Vader, and it's not just because he loses his legs and his arm, and not just because he wears the suit and that sort of thing, but it's because he became the very thing he feared the most. He became that agent of death. He became the very opposite thing that he was trying to be. He was trying to be a savior. He was trying to save his mom. Didn't work. He turned his fear into rage, into wrath. He was trying to save his wife. Now, he was manipulated there, but still, he did hurt her. I don't know if you've seen the movie, he uses the Force that kind of hurts her, but he doesn't kill her at that point. He doesn't kill her at all, actually. It's actually debated why she died. She did die in childbirth, but it's not exactly like why she died. Could have had something to do with the Force thing, but it doesn't really seem that way. But the Emperor used that to say, "You're the cause of her death," which just would mess you up and really would make him then kind of be more of a puppet for the Emperor, right?
Who's Anakin's son? Luke. Oh yeah.
Luke, bro. It's kind of important.
Why is he in the suit?
Because his body was so messed up, he couldn't really
Life support. It basically keeps him alive.
He got a-
Obi-Wan chopped him up in a battle, and then he got burned. Sorry. He got burned badly, and he lost limbs from his fight with Obi-Wan. Yeah. All right, let me give you some lessons here, and I hope you guys have been paying attention because I do want to give those prizes away.
I've been paying attention.
Good, I'm glad you have been. Couple lessons. Here's one. Stay close to the good. Here's what I mean by that. Stay close to the good lessons, the good people, the good values that you have learned. You got to understand that Anakin did not just become Darth Vader like overnight. He wasn't like this, like kind of like Obi-Wan. He was like, Obi-Wan's really faithful to the Jedi Order and that sort of. He didn't just like overnight be boom, now I'm bad. Now I'm going to go to the dark side. It started when he was a kid. And if you've seen the movies or anything, you can see that the Jedi Council, they were suspicious of him already. They're like, he's too powerful. And what did Yoda see in him right in the beginning? Not evil.
Darkness.
Not darkness. Nope. Nope.
Right. Strength.
Nope. It's a negative. It's what led him to everything he did bad.
Revenge.
Nope. Before that. Before all that. Before that. Starts with an F, ends with ear. Fear. That's what Yoda said. He said, great fear I feel in you. Great fear I see in you. So that's the thing that they're really suspicious of him already. So Darth Vader, Anakin, he moved further and further away from the good lessons. And he was taught a lot of good lessons. Qui-Gon Jinn was another one. Obi-Wan was one that taught him some really good lessons. His mom taught him a lot of good lessons. But he went to places he wasn't supposed to be. He did things he wasn't supposed to do. He put himself in situations where it was easy for him to do wrong. He wasn't supposed to be on Tatooine. He wasn't supposed to be in the Tusken village. He wasn't supposed to be in the room where Mace Windu and the Emperor were. He was supposed to be in the temple. They told him, and you'll see this in the movie, they said, go back to the temple. And he didn't. He stayed, and he put himself in a situation where it was easy for him to do wrong. I want to say this. This is a really good quote. To fail, this is not a Star Wars quote. This is a life lesson quote. To fail, you merely have to cultivate a few bad habits and then simply bide your time. People do not typically go from being a student doing good to boom, I'm in trouble like overnight. Sometimes it can happen, like if tragedy strikes, but there's already been some issues, emotional issues, relational issues in the mind where that tragedy has pushed you over the edge. Typically, when someone finds themselves in trouble, it started a long time ago. So if you want to fail, I'm talking about in life, or at Pineview, or at a job, or in your careers, or financial, or relational.
In general.
If you want to fail, in general, all you have to do is cultivate a few bad habits and then just bide your time. I guarantee it'll happen. Now the opposite is true as well. If you want to succeed, you cultivate a few what? Good habits. And give them time. That's a good way to say it. And give them time. Bad habits, you just have to wait. You almost don't have to do anything.
You use that thinking.
But good habits, you have to cultivate them. You have to move in them. You have to be proactive in them. Give them time to grow, basically.
You use that thinking part of your brain.
That's right, the frontal lobe cortex, right on.
Yep.
So say this, another thing to say. Anakin also hung around with people that he shouldn't have. So he was going to places he shouldn't have, Tatooine, the room where the Emperor was. He also hung around with people he shouldn't have. He was getting too close to the Emperor. He was getting too close. And the Emperor used that. He used it to plant seeds of bad advice, of lies, that sort of thing. He used his relationship to manipulate Anakin. Words are probably, you talk about the Force, right, with Star Wars, but words, I would argue, is probably, I can't really think of much else, I would argue is one of, if not the strongest force we have, is words. It really doesn't matter how physically strong you are. If you can move someone with your words, you can penetrate a whole group of people. Now, actions do have an important role too, but oftentimes actions are more individualized, like people that are watching you, to where words can impact a greater group of people. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's see, I'm going to skip some of that. Another quote for you. If you've been in my office, you've seen this on my whiteboard. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
That's true. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it can be. In concept, at least. In concept. You are who you hang around. That's another way to say it. There's a psychologist, I can't remember who said it, and he came up with this phrase, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I don't know how that can be really proven, right? Like what specific 5 people, but I think in concept, I think it is true. It does matter who you hang out with. It doesn't matter who you spend your time with. It really does. Have you ever known someone that messed up?
Yes.
And you said, oh, I saw that coming. Or you'd say, oh, it doesn't surprise me, right? This concept of staying close to the good, I think, goes over everybody. So when you say that, when someone messes up and you say, oh, I saw that coming, that's because you saw little things back here, right? You saw they didn't stay close to the good, they didn't stay close to the good, they got further and further and further away to where when opportunity came, there it was, and they messed up, they did something they shouldn't have. It's rare for someone to surprise us with their behavior. It's not a big surprise because we can kind of see it coming. With Anakin, the Jedi Council, they saw it coming. They said, no, there's some issues here that you need to deal with first. You're not going to be a Jedi Master. You're not going to be on the Council, at least not right now. They were smart about that. They could see it coming before it did, especially Yoda. All right, let me see here. Skip here. Yes, sir. Oh, I thought you had a question. I was like, I'm almost done, then I will. I'm real close. Yep. All right, here's the second thing we can learn from Darth Vader. The one is we need to stay close to the good. Stay close to the good relationships, stay close to the good lessons, stay close to the good values that we've learned. That's number one, because he did not turn into Darth Vader overnight. It was a slow burn. Here's a second one here. Question for you. What was Darth Vader, when he was Darth Vader, what was he attempting to conquer? Was it like space? Or was it like the Jedi? Or was it like the Senate or the galaxy? What do you think? What was he trying to conquer? Well, he was using war. He was trying to conquer something. What do you think, Aiden? Okay, well, you're getting closer. He was trying to conquer something, the fear of something. Isaac? Was he trying to, did I mess you up? Well, he wasn't trying to conquer fear.
Death.
Exactly, death. All right, you can put your hands up. That's not a prize question. I'm sorry, Isaiah. No, I'm sorry. I'll tell you when it's a prize question. He was trying to conquer death. That's what he was trying to conquer. He was trying to overcome death, first with his mom, then with his wife. And I tell you what, those who cannot accept death, and I want you to hear this because this can get serious if you know people. Those who cannot accept death as being just part of life. It doesn't mean you have to like it. I'm not saying that. The Bible even tells us that death has a sting. So whether you're a believer or not, or believe the Bible or not, death stings. It does. Those who cannot accept death, are you ready? Oftentimes become an agent of it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Those who cannot accept death as part of life, because they cannot stop it, oftentimes they will become an agent of it.
I'm a murderer.
Sometimes people actually can become murderers. But oftentimes it's not just in people. They will kill other things.
Like animals?
No, I'm talking like philosophy type stuff. They'll kill a relationship. They'll kill a dream. They'll give up on life. They'll say, I know some of us feel this way. Have you ever been like down in the dumps, maybe kind of be depressed or you felt bad and you just kind of gave up? You said, oh, forget it. I'm just going to do whatever. Have you ever felt that way? That is a death. Now you can resurrect it, but in that moment, you're saying, it doesn't matter. I'm going to put to death maybe my progress, something like that. Those who cannot accept death oftentimes become an agent of it. And that relates to this imbalanced fear. Imbalanced fear is a deadly motivator. We should have a healthy fear of things, healthy fear of consequences. We should have a healthy fear of failure. Sometimes that healthy fear motivates us to, I don't want to fail that way, and I'm a little scared of that, so I'm going to push myself and I'm going to do better, whatever that is. But an imbalanced fear, where maybe obsession comes about, and you just cannot lose this person, or I cannot have this thing happen to me. If this thing happens to me, I'm gonna die. That's imbalanced fear. And that can be a deadly motivator. Why? Because you're not guaranteed to succeed. And if you fail at something you feel like you cannot give up, you may put something to death. It could be your personality. It could be your aspirations. Imbalanced fear is a deadly motivator, that unhealthy fear. Questions, comments, concerns?
That was a good one.
Okay, here's your question. You ready? Now you gotta raise your hand. No shouting it out. You gotta raise your hand. What movie did George Lucas put out before Star Wars that gave him some success? What was the name of the movie Austin? Okay, that's okay. Don't say anything. Don't say it. What's the movie, Hunter? What's the movie?
I know this.
I better grab the prizes. You get another chance if you can't get this one. It was a movie before he put out Star Wars. It kind of put him on the map a little bit. What is it, Isaac?
American Graffiti.
American Graffiti. That's what it is. There you go, sir. American Graffiti. Right out.
All right, we're done.
Next question.
Dang it.
Next question. You ready? Originally, George Lucas wrote Anakin Skywalker, and he didn't even see the question yet. He wrote Anakin Skywalker, and he wrote Luke Skywalker, right? But originally, Anakin and Luke Skywalker's last name was not Skywalker. It was something else. What was it, Trevor? Star Killer. Very good. Very good. Very good.
Bro, he shouted out.
All right, we're done. Let's go to our.
All right, guys, go to your small groups, please. I appreciate you, and I will try to have more prizes next time. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you very much. Oh, get out of there, boy. Get out of there.
Take our Disney wheel.